Okay, so today is December the 20th, 2024, and this is a follow-up video to the one that I just made earlier, where we, for the first time in the history of the station, we gave out the esteemed award of the JCAT, or the JCAT of the Week award, right? And it went to a Mr. Christopher Davis, the principal over at Melrose High School. So let's get into some more important matters, right? And this is for black men. Black women, you can go away if you want to. This is a message to the black men. No offense, right? Okay, so this is chapter 16 out of the BTs. And the BTs are the basic tenets of black revolutionary nationalism, right? Chapter 16, the education of the black nationalist child. Now remember, the BTs were written in 1977, so some of the language in there is 1977 language, right? So bear that in mind. We are now in 2025 almost. So this information is fairly old. I mean, you know, the terminology, but the tenet itself is valid today like it was back then. So let's get into it. And for again, this is not an entertainment channel, even though I say every now and then we can play on Fridays and laugh and joke, like with, JCAT of the Week award. That's something we can laugh and play about. But this channel right here is for the serious black men in the country who are trying to rebuild the communities, right? 10K in specific. You know what I'm talking about, 10K. All right, so here we go. The education of our children should be our number one concern. Our children are the black nation's future. We must prepare a road for them and prepare them for the road ahead of independence, self-determination, and national liberation. Now remember, when this particular thesis right here was written from the perspective of the black revolutionary nationalist movement. This is when black people, particularly those from the New African sector, wanted their own nation, right? So just keep that in mind. In order to get the necessary nationalist education to help our children survive in our ever-changing world, the black child will have to be trained in the home and in independent community-controlled liberation schools. This does not mean that they can't go to public schools. But first and foremost, you got to start training your children at home, right? Take away them damn telephones, turn that television off, and give them, make them read books. Like when I was coming up, we had to do a book report every single week. They made us do book reports in school. We must prepare our youth within the next 10 years to be able to lead a nation of their own. This is what Ibrahim Traoré is doing with the youth over off in the Burkina Faso right now. We must train our youth in the sciences and other technical skills. From the youth must come a generation prepared to govern an independent black government and nation. Also, our youth should be trained in technical skills and political ideology, whereas they could be a reserve for Africa, contributing to the building of Africa and helping to close the technological gap between Africa and the West within a decade. Training should begin in the home and should start from the cradle. Children should be given original or revolutionary names. When explaining to them their names, they will be given nationalistic pride. They should be taught that they are black, and black is beautiful. When possible, toys should represent blackness and pride. Toys encouraging development of scientific skills should also be used. Children at an early age should be encouraged to speak original languages such as Yoruba, Swahili, and Arabic. This can easily be done by parents speaking of objects around the home in mother tongue, or in the mother tongues. Movies and pictures are good media for black children. As often as possible, the black child should be shown black nationalist films, slides, pictures, and plays, and taken to black cultural affairs and meetings. Black clubs, women's organizations, and civil groups should form black homemade movie workshops to make 8mm and 16mm black nationalist movies to be distributed and shown in the community, and also to be sold to individual families. With the inexpensive cost of projecting equipment, this can easily be done. Now, of course, we don't use 8mm and 16mm film anymore. Much more advanced. But remember, this is 1977. This generation of parents cannot afford to waste a lifetime producing another generation, another untrained generation. Conspicuous consumption and foolish wasting of our time must be brought to a prompt end. Slaves have no time to party. All our time must be dedicated to building Black liberation and destroying our enemies. Anything or anyone in the way of Black liberation must go. We must spend the majority, in fact, 9/10 of our time preparing an organized, trained, skilled, and together united Black nationalist generation. We must develop a careful, scientific, mass Black nationalist child training program. For older children, 7 to 10, weekend classes should be held teaching Black history, arts, and crafts. These classes serve to give the Black child pride and help make up for brainwashing they get while in the white public educational system. Through these classes, children can be taught what their loyalty should be to the Black nation and the importance of studying the enemy and knowing current events. All Black children should be restricted in the watching of TV. The oppressor is very wise in projecting negative Negro images through the mass media, particularly TV. See, now they do it through the radio. Through TV, the oppressor projects white supremacy in a professional and most subtle way, even with the interjection of Negro actors. And the so-called new Negro image, the Black man is projected as a loyal, Tom-loving, his slave master, and even at times shown betraying his people. TV projects negative nationalist symbols for Black people and projects no positive Black power symbols. All programs allowed to be watched should be explained as far as the brainwashing purposes of the program are concerned. Prior to the age of 6, much will depend on efforts by parents in nationalist education in the home. From 7 to 10, the Black child's attitude will depend more on his/her peers and weekend classes. Children's minds at that age are formative by involvement in Black activities. Youth groups such as the Black Scouts could be formed. These groups could practice war games and train in martial arts. From the age of 10 to 19, intense nationalist education should be given Black youth both in the homes, groups, and in the streets. From the time the Black child can read, Black children's and comic books should be purchased for them. Parents should read parts of history to them. And also, recordings of Black nationalist leaders' speeches should be constantly played and interpreted for children. Good and evil for the Black child must be Black representing good and white, evil and wrong. See, now that part I really don't agree with, but if it's the truth, it's the truth, right? And all Black is not good. I'm telling you right now, we got some dangerous sellout coon people inside our community. Bear that in mind. Your worst enemy is going to look like you. Okay, if a child or person does something wrong, then they become white. This helps reverse the psychological self-hatred complex that Caucasian American society instills in Black Americans. By reversing the psychological conditions, which are much closer to reality, Black Americans will be much healthier, being able to channel their anger outward against the oppressor rather than inward, destroying themselves. The Black home, whether a 2-room apartment or a complete house, is the center of activity for the Black family. Keeping this in mind, the Black home should always be dedicated to the liberation of the Black nation. The Black home can either be a constructive instrument for unity, strength of the family, building strong children for the Black nation, or it can be the destructive force causing families to be disunited, chaotic, and totally confused in purpose and future, creating an instability for the family's offspring and not giving them any motivation for nationalist success. Atmosphere is what makes a home pleasant or miserable. A pleasant black home is when everyone is dedicated to the liberation of the black nation and when each member of the family respects one another as a black person fighting for freedom. The black home, however small in space, should be designed for creative black livability. The black home should not be designed after the white home. We are two different nations fighting one another, and this should be kept in mind when creating the black home. One must always remember the black home is the nerve center of the black community and family. The black home should be designed to remind us of our African Asiatic heritage and our history. Every black home should have a picture and writing or recording of Marcus Garvey and Malcolm X. In this way, we are constantly reminded of black people's new values, the new way of life, and our ever-going struggle. In decorating, we should use our nation's colors of red, black, and green. In this way, our whole home is dedicated to the liberation of the black nation, and we will soon find that our every thought will be the same. At least one room should be painted all black or part black. This room will remind us of our beautiful blackness and that black is beautiful. This also serves to re-educate ourselves of being afraid to decorate or use the color black as a living color. Every black home should have some reading material for family and friends on black nationalism. Magazines on the struggle should always be around. Carvings, curtains, and wall pictures should represent blackness. Also, inexpensive furniture should reflect black culture. If possible, our homes should have an Afro-Asian setting using African or Oriental furniture. Black people should not have French provincial living rooms, Italian dining rooms. Their homes should reflect their cultural heritage. Music, this is very important because this is what's destroying the generation. The music is destroying us. Music in the black home should be message music, or should reflect a movement in some way. There should be no picture of a white man as a hero or God in the black home. The black home should be the living reflection of black nationalism at all times. So that is chapter 16, the education of the black nationalist child. And again, we have to remember, the BTs were written in 1977, and it was written by a person who was a part of the Republic of New Africa, right? So this writing isn't going to apply to everyone, right? It's not going to apply to everyone. So, we don't expect for, especially today's generation of black parents, in a collective sense, to embrace these type of tenets. I mean, it would be beneficial if we would, but you have to understand that, and I keep saying that Black America evolved under colonialism. That experiment was successful. There are only a few of us who believe in black nationalism. There are only a few of us who believe in sovereignty and independence. There are only a few of us who believe that we are not the floor mat to be walked on. There are only a few of us whose every thought and value is guided by petty accumulation of materialism, or accumulation of petty materialism, however you want to phrase it. There's only a few of us, right? But black men, and I constantly say black men because you got to stop being led around like a dog on a leash by your women. It's time for you to stand up and be men. It's time for you to say enough is enough, right? No more female-dominated households. And I suggest that you never lay in bed with a woman who shares opposing political views than you do. Right? Let me say that again. Never lay in bed make a family with a woman whose political ideas are in stark contrast to yours. It's the recipe for disaster. This is why our communities, a big part of it, are in the shape that they're in, because black men abdicated responsibility and allowed for black women to step to the forefront and represent them politically. It has been a complete disaster. It's time for you to push them to the background. Whatever you have to do. But you never, ever, 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 ever subjugate your beliefs for the professed love of a woman. You don't do that. We don't do that. No, men don't do that. Only American black men do that. White men don't do it. The Hispanic men don't do it. Men across the world don't do it. Nowhere in Africa, nowhere in the Middle East, nowhere in Russia. Only in black America. So, I don't care if you don't have a dime, no money, period. You can at least do your best. Step in and take control of the education of your children. Make them read at home. If you can afford math tutors, do it. You can go to the University of Memphis down here in Memphis, wherever you located anywhere in America. Go to the university. Some of the college kids up there would be glad to be a tutor to your children for free. So there are no more excuses. No more excuses. And another important point, stop allowing them to listen to hip hop. It should not be the genre of music that's ever played inside the home. Have you ever noticed that the young girls, that's the only thing they listen to is rap music? They don't listen to anything else. They listen to rap music. That genre of music has to be put to the sword. You know what put to the sword mean? It has to be killed. It has to be eradicated. Period. It is the way that the enemy, whether the internal enemy or the external enemy, it is the way that the enemy is controlling the minds and actions, the social values of your children. Stop it. When they get to spewing that crap, no, make them stop. Tell them to turn it off. You don't listen to it in the car. And man, look, and don't you ever date a female that listens to rap music. The only thing she listens to is rap music. Don't you ever disrespect yourself like that. You don't want no woman like that having your children. You don't want that. But on that note, we're going to go ahead. This video is almost 20 minutes long. But I just wanted to bring to you a section of the BTs, the basic tenets. And it's time to step up, black men. 10K definitely got to stand up. You know who you are. 10K got to stand up, period. There's very few 10K men. They're not going to compromise at all on their values and morals. You cannot compromise, period. So we're going to end this video, and y'all send me some JCAT material. Next week, every day we're gonna have the runners up to JCAT Awards of the week. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna end this video on that Chilewa.